Hey everybody, this is Chris Lundwall. I am happy to be here with you and take a few minutes to talk about the second pillar associated with game management for baseball umpires at the high school level or at the general level, or any umpire who's interested in maybe a fresh perspective on how we do things in the umpiring world. Wanted to go ahead and take just a few minutes to follow up to the previous installment or the initial training, which was on the strike zone and game management. So just to follow up, this speaks a little bit to mobility, which is that second pillar, and specifically about blind spots, and is entitled Tags, Trapdoors, and 60-Degree Mobility. Wanted to go ahead and be really clear that the context for these videos, these instructional videos, is always the same. Take it or leave it. It's only designed to help be a little bit educational and enjoy the improvement process. So more than anything else, it's offered for your consideration and as a tool for associations and for umpires to discuss what they like or don't like about the things that are shared. So it's just all about collaboration, education, and improving. So use it as fodder or as a reference in any way that you'd like. But if you're a newer umpire and you run across some things here that you're interested in, run it by an older umpire or a mentor of yours and see what feedback you get from them. Use it to facilitate that growth process. And then if you're a veteran umpire, see if this is something that still resonates, and if it's new stuff that doesn't make sense, then that's okay too, but just use it as a way to foster better education among the umpiring community. Really quickly, I've spent about 11 seasons umpiring. I have the opportunity to be mentored by amazing people at all levels of the game, and have had a chance to go to a couple of schools and just make a lot of really valuable mistakes and enjoy the journey. One thing I would really encourage you to do is to go to school, either a national or a local option, and really support your high school master clinics. The national schools are fantastic. They're a bigger commitment, but boy, I think they're worth it. And then locally, there's opportunities in just about every region to get to a college clinic and learn a ton from the amazing people that are there. Here in Colorado, we've got the RMAC clinic that happens in August and September, and they do a great job. Lastly, I want to go ahead and, as I always do, just really encourage people to take a look at Force 3 Pro Gear, because it is the safest and highest quality product as it relates to protection for umpires and for catchers that I can think of. It's used in major leagues now, as well as college. I saw in the College World Series that it's also being used there. So it's product that I've used for since 2013 actually, and it extends. It's a great way to extend your career. It provides comfort, but the safety is through the roof, and the protection is through the roof. The masks have a suspension system that's absolutely amazing and awesome. And then the chest protectors are made of Kevlar, which speaks for itself. It's just amazing. So please, the pitch here is invest in yourself and invest in your safety. Umpiring can be dangerous, and it's a lot less dangerous if you've got the right tools to do the job correctly. So take that for what it's worth, but definitely take a look, if you would, at Force 3 Pro Gear. Game management pillars. So this is the context. These are four things that I've learned myself just to look at before the game starts and after the game is finished, in addition to trying to identify one thing during a given game that I'm going to really try to improve on. But if I evaluate the game through these four lenses, if you will, it helps me learn from every experience with every other umpire as well. So confidence at the plate, that's the previous module that was published a few weeks ago. It's about an hour and a half. The feedback, again, I saw several of the fellows out umpiring as I was last weekend here in Colorado, and the feedback was I just really appreciated it. It was really, really nice to hear all the positives, and that it was adding some value and interesting, or at least worth discussing. So that was great. The other feedback I got was it was a little long at an hour and a half. On the flip side of that coin, though, a lot of the feedback was that it was extremely thorough and that it kind of found a way to put a lot of the things that you learn in pro school into an hour and a half. So anyway, take both sides of that coin and flip it however you want. Mobility on the bases. Am I mobile on the bases during a given game? Am I getting the angle and distance? And am I illustrating angle and distance on every single play? That's what we're going to talk about today. The other two pillars or lenses for self-evaluation are timing and on the calls, as it relates to being composed and not being rushed, and really pausing, reading, and reacting, and then respecting everyone through verbal and body language, as well as how we engage the coaches and the players. So anyway, let's talk about mobility on the bases, and specifically, let's talk about blind spots. And everything that I'm going to talk about today is in the context of the 2 and the 3-man mechanics. And again, the disclaimer here is that there's better content out there. God knows there is. There's better videos, much better. There's just that are well produced, etc. This is just really hot. This is just practical. This is just in your face. This is what I know. Let me get out of your way, and you can do what you want with it, type stuff. So anything that I say is arguable. There's always going to be lots of different opinions to offer in response to what I'm offering here, and that's the great thing. That is the purpose of doing this, is to create that dialogue that will produce observations that help people learn. So let's talk about how we're taught. In mechanics classes over the past several years, we're taught that when we're in the different positions, obviously B, C, and D, when we come in to make a call on the infield, that we are generally encouraged to be at 45 degrees on the bag and about 10 to 12 feet away from the play. We don't want to be too close and we don't want to be too far. And so we know what the working area is, and we kind of understand that type of angle and distance or proximity and view is what's designed to help us be successful. So if you look obviously at the square, which is the baseball diamond here, if you bifurcate it or divide it with these lines, what you create is 45-degree angles on each side of the ultimate 90-degree angle of each angle of the square. So when we talk about the 45s, we're talking about that 45-degree angle here, and we're talking about having a view here, and we're talking about generally being about 10 feet away from the call, 10 to 12 feet. So the A position, really, really quickly, the typical blind spot for the A position, which we're not going to talk about more than this here, is simply that when you're coming in for a play, your blind spot is going to be the back foot of the first baseman if the first baseman has to extend toward you to catch an incoming ball. And if you can't see that pulled foot, then we are obligated as umpires, if we are asked, to get help from home plate on making that call. And we're happy to get it, because if we are blocked out, we want to get the call right. But that's typically considered what the A position blind spot is. As it relates to B, C, and D, D obviously being in the context of a 3-man system. The D is the rabbit bound role that we've got to go ahead and pounce into the infield and get in position for different coverage scenarios. And again, the guidance for B, C, and D is to get within 10 to 12 feet and make sure that we're at 45. So we've got an angle that gives us a full view of that space right in front, directly in front of the bag, because the assumption is that runner is going to slide directly into the bag, and that fielder is going to put that tag down in front of the bag so that the incoming runner collides with the tag before they touch the base, or conversely gets to that base before the tag gets down. That's the general assumption or hypothesis, if you will. The blind spots are the places behind second and behind third. And the reason those are considered blind spots is because even if you pause, read, and react just like you should, if in fact the runner decides to go ahead and not go directly into the bag, but to slide on the backside of the bag, and that tag goes down initially by the fielder in front of the bag, what's going to happen is the fielder is going to probably adjust and pivot and extend their body out to make that tag to the right of the bag here at second base. And when they go ahead and counterclockwise, right-handed player, but when they go ahead and extend to go ahead and get that tag down, there's a good chance that in pivoting, they're going to pivot right in front of you, and their body is going to block your view of any tag that will take place behind the bag. And there's some photos at the end of this that you can see, and we'll take a look at those in a second. But those are the two blind spots that we talk about as it relates to being in a 45-degree position at 10 feet. So with that being said, the principle in play for us when we're in the field, and certainly at the plate as well, but is that you should only call tags that you can see. In the same way that in the previous module where we're talking about the strike zone and game management, that fundamental principle that every pitch is a strike until it proves itself otherwise. Well, this other guiding principle as it relates to the field is that you can only call a tag that you can see, or you face what I call the trap door. And I'll talk about that in a second. So that sounds painfully obvious. Well, of course, I'm only going to call a situation where I can see a tag. Well, let's not run too fast into that, because if you're umpiring an average game with average players, average base runners, and average fielders, and again, I don't mean that negatively. It's not a pejorative. It's just if that's kind of the level of play where they're advancing and it's straightforward basics, then you're probably going to see that tag that takes place right in front of the bag when the runner slides directly into the bag low and the fielder habitually or robotically catches the ball and just automatically brings that tag down in front of the bag. However, when you move into a situation where we've got some advanced players, when you start to move to that position where you've got really sharp players, and not just a couple, but then you move up to where everybody on the team is sharp. So as you're moving from lower high school lower high school travel ball to varsity high school and then up to college, that continuum of skills grows and grows and grows, and our umpiring obviously needs to grow as well. And so when we're in a situation where we've got an advanced skill player who knows there's going to be a close play at second, and they therefore have been trained by really insightful coaches to go ahead and take to the outside of the bag for a slide on the back side of the bag. If we are in 45 degrees and that fielder's body turns to block the tag so that we can't see it, not intentionally, but just because they're extending to go ahead and get that tag out to where the runner's going on that back side, we're going to be blocked. And so it's really, really important to kind of understand where those blind spots are and how they materialize. Now, the blindness that's caused by the type of the slide. So the direct slide, not going to have a blind spot at 45 degrees, right? Here you are, 10 feet away. You've got a clear view of the front side of the bag. Direct slide into it's a beautiful thing. Angels are singing. And the fielder's stance goes ahead and receives that throw in, has an open stance, puts that tag down in front of the bag. Everything's perfect until, again, you've got a situation where, where you've got that backside slide, and now you've got a fielder who's going to adjust, and in adjusting is going to block your view, turning counterclockwise of the tag. And again, keep in mind that the guiding principle here is that you can only call a tag that you can see. So the question is, a couple of questions might arise. As a field umpire, do you know what kind of slide? Is it going to be a standard slide directly into the bag, or an evasive or backslide that's going to happen? You don't know. It depends on the player. It depends on the team, the type of coaching, the scenario. and it's pretty hard to adjust to that on the fly. So that's the basic supposition here that I'm offering today, is that you may want to consider, rather than lining up at 45 degrees, to adjusting to a place that's closer to 60 degrees, so that you can open up a window into that blind spot so that it's no longer blind. So let's go ahead and talk about the trapdoor. So backside slide is if it happens, the fielder's going to extend. You're going to be blocked at 45 degrees by the fielder's body. If you do happen to call, which we don't encourage, obviously, but if you call an unseen tag, you're going to have one coach out there who is going to want to interrogate you and escalate this issue, because these sharp coaches, again, I'm not talking about the lower level coaches, but when you get to certain levels of the game and you've got coaches and players with high baseball IQs, they are just watching the play. They may be watching you. And if they are watching you and they see your position and they see how that develops, they know as well as you do that you were blocked out by that fielder and that you did not see the tag. So if that's the case, that's called the trap door, because the trap door is such that if you are asked a question point blank, did you see the tag? And you cannot answer yes, the trap door releases, and that's a tough situation. So let's go ahead and talk about C spots instead of blind spots. And so if you got a backside slide and you've got a front bag tag, and you're in the 60-degree position, right? So now we've got this 90-degree angle, but we're setting up here on the right corner of the cutout. Let's go ahead and look at that. Now we've got a view all the way to the back side of the bag, and we still can see the front side of the bag. So if it just turns out to be a situation for whatever reason where the play is in front of the bag, we've got that down just like we would at 45 degrees. But by moving over just a little bit to 60 degrees, or to the right side of the cutout, the right corner of the cutout on either scenario, we're now in a position to have a window into the backside slide. And we are most importantly in a situation where we can see the tag. And seeing the tag is the most important thing that we can do. So as it relates to that, even if that fielder is turning his body, he's going to have to turn a lot. It's going to have to be a really, really, really unique situation to block your view at 60 degrees. And so what you're really doing is hedging your bet and making sure that you see both different tag areas, front of the bag and the back side. Seeing the ball, seeing the tag, seeing the ball again to make sure that the possession is where it should be, and then make the call. So this is how we approach this, and this is how we really prevent the trap door. So if we run through this scenario one more time, you got a backside slide, either base, right? And you've got a fielder that's going to go ahead and receive that throw. And if that throw at third base, that throw is coming in from the outfield, when they see that runner is coming on the outside of the bag, they're likely to go ahead and turn their shoulders and turn their body to extend to make that tag, if they even through a swipe tag. And when they do that, when they extend and rotate that body, if we're at 60 degrees, we still should be in a situation where we're not obstructed by that fielder, and we have a clear view to where that tag would take place to get that runner. So clear umpire point of view at 60 degrees, the umpire sees the tag and makes the call, and then you are still going to have a coach come out and talk to you, for sure. We'll talk about that in a minute, but it's going to be more like the coach coming out to ask and really acquiesce and say, okay, you saw the tag, you were in position, it didn't go my way, but I understand what happened. So that's the description of the 45 degree versus the 60 degree, the standard slide versus the backside slide, tag. And that's really what I wanted to kind of explain today, was just be very, very, very aware of those two blind spots. And you're going to find that as you move up in the ranks and as you get more challenging baseball, in other words, much more skilled baseball to umpire, that you want to be prepared mechanically to see those blind spots so that they're C spots and not blind. Because again, just to reemphasize, the advanced coaches and the advanced players will know based on your positioning as an umpire whether or not you got the call right based on your positioning. And if your positioning is off, they will be in a position to go ahead and appeal that, and they'll probably have a really good case to make. So let's talk about that process. So as we move into away from the mechanics of managing blind spots and DC spots, let's talk a little bit about the game management implications. So what you can anticipate on one of those plays is that the aggrieved coach is going to ask for time. The aggrieved players and fans will expect the coach to do that. Okay, they care about the game. They've invested a lot of money and time. They love the game, and they want to know that their coach is passionate about improving the team and getting the best effort out of their players and making sure that they get the best result, the result that they're working for. So they expect that coach to go out there, and you should expect that coach to want to have a conversation with you as well, especially on a close call and a backside slide. He will approach the field umpire with a plan. So on that, they're not just kind of walking out there. They have a thought process in mind. And that coach's thought process has something to do with your mechanic. There's something they want to know from you. And based on where they saw you make that call, they have already got a plan about how they're going to have this conversation with you. That coach will already know if you saw the tag. And they'll know it because they'll have saw where you are at with distance. And that's less important, but it's important. But most importantly, they will have seen where you made that call from an angle perspective. That is the most important. You had the angle, you had the line of sight. It is a judgment call. This is not in most cases, this will not be a rules-based situation. The conversation, it may turn into whether or not the slide was an illegal slide or something along those lines. I'm really just talking today about the tag and making sure that you see it. So as it relates to the most fundamental question, which is, did you see the tag? The angle is the most important thing. And if you're at 60 degrees and 10 feet, you're going to be in a really good situation to see that tag. And if you're at 45 degrees and it's a backside slide and you got a defensive man, a fielder who's rotating their shoulders to extend to make that backslide side tag and blocking your view, the coach is already going to know that before they get out to talk to you. So what the coach will most likely ask you is one thing, and the encouragement that I ask you to consider is to keep answering the real question that the coach is asking. Regardless of the questions that he asks, there's really one thing that he wants to get to and be absolutely certain of. And so he'll come out there and he'll say, hey, Blue, what did you see? And your response should, in my opinion, and again, this is based on the feedback that I've gotten and the way I've approached these situations, I saw the tag applied on the backside too late. So obviously you called him safe. But the main thing is you prefaced your response with "I saw." That's really, really big, because that's what the coach wants to know. Did you see it? So the follow-up will, you'll see, how do you know you saw that? I saw a timely throw and a late tag from 60 degrees. You sure the tag was applied after the runner arrived? I saw the runner touch the bag before the tag. Where did the fielder tag the runner? Again, now he's testing, the details, right? And you don't want to go into too many details because he's got a game to manage, but you want to give him the respect that he deserves, and you want to prove that you saw what you saw. So in an ideal response would be, I saw the tag applied to the elbow or to the hand. Ultimately, where he's going to get to is, did you clearly see the tag? That's what he wants to know. And your response will be, I had angle and distance, coach. I clearly saw the tag. And that's a situation, again, there's not yelling going on. This is a conversation. If you look at this visual, the picture in the background, this might be a situation where the coach really feels strongly that the umpire was blocked from their point of view. Who knows, right? But if you can get as quickly as possible to, I had angle and distance, coach. I clearly saw the tag. That's the real question. Did you see the tag clearly? So again, this is your judgment call. Reciting rules is not the point. This is not that situation typically where you're going to talk about specific rules. You're going to talk specifically about what you saw and why you know you saw what you saw. So your mobility is a really big deal here. Getting to 60 degrees and getting set is a really, really big deal. Your mechanics have everything to do with this conversation with the coach. So you want to explain what you saw, i.e. I saw the tag, and how you saw it. I saw it because I had the angle distance right, coach. I think it's also important to look at the umpire's mindset, right? So now we've talked just a little bit about what the coach is kind of thinking about when they come out to talk to you, whether it doesn't matter which coach it is, they're going to want to get to the same question, which is how clearly did you see what you saw? And were you in a position to do that in the first place? But from your perspective, was we're out there doing our job. One of the things I love about this picture is it's a coach that's just listening to a response to an umpire, and it's just a conversation. There's no emotions flying. It's just, I'm going to give you some information, you're going to give me some information, and then we're going to keep playing the game. There's a lot of respect here, and that's what I was trying to kind of show. But from an umpire's perspective, if it's a close play again, someone is aggrieved at the outcome. They're not excited about the call, and they're gonna want to come talk to you about it because of the optics, and they want to show they're committed to the players and they're interested in the game. Again, the coach already knows the what, whether you're out or safe, and he really wants to understand the how and the why and the when and the where. But he's going to get a lot of feedback based on how you conduct yourself during this conversation in terms of the brevity and the substance that you offer up, the precision of your answers. So a simple explanation illustrates position, visibility, and interpretation. I saw the tag on the backside slide clearly, coach. That sentence says a lot, and it says a lot to what type of, again, the type of confidence the coach is going to have in the next question that they ask. Optics to players and fans matter to coaches. It's part of the job. Never want to get upset because a coach wants to come talk about a specific close play. Apathetic coaches don't coach or motivate or educate for very long, and passionate coaches tend to do it for a long time. But there are passionate coaches who are extremely respectful and insightful and very interested in how you do your job, how we do our job. And they want to know that we're in the right place with the right distance and the right angle to do the very best that we can. Some coaches want to know what may have changed the outcome. So this is a constructive way to have that conversation out there. And so you might respond, if the coach is out there and he wants to go back to the dugout and he wants to teach or show or explain to his players how that might have gone differently, you may, again, this is up to you, your maturity, your relationship with the coach, the play itself, but you may want to give them a nugget to take back to the dugout that's instructional, right? So a response like, well, hey, coach, a tag on the runner instead of the bag may help next time. That's not criticism. That's more just, hey, next time if this changes, you might get a different outcome, but this is what I saw. Keep in mind that the head coach, which is oftentimes the third base coach, can't see blind spot at second. It's behind the bag. He's at least 90 feet away. There's probably at least one or two people running in front of him, but he may see it at third base. I'd be aware of that for sure. Listen to his point of view. If that's the person you're talking to, which it should be, just listen to their point of view. Understand what they were seeing. That's part of the conversation and the respect that's demonstrated there between him. But then just respond calmly. I saw the tag at 60 degrees and 10 feet, coach. I don't know what else to tell you. I clearly saw the tag, and that's why I made the call I did. It's just almost impossible for someone to argue a call, as frustrated as they may be, if you're in the right position to make it. Your mechanics, angle, distance, timing, and tone are more important than the rule book. Don't be distracted by a rule. Don't get into a conversation about the rule book on a judgment call like this unless it's absolutely necessary. It may, in some cases, be relevant. Again, I mentioned earlier, is it an illegal slide situation, et cetera? Maybe we've got a transfer situation, but on a subsequent, the play. But at the end of the day, if we're just talking about seeing blind spots clearly by getting to 60 degrees and 10 feet, making that adjustment to 45, that's the point. Let's make sure we can see it clearly. Never call, again, I've said this a couple of times, but this is the theme. Never call a tag you don't see. It's not defensible, and it's often obvious. That is the trapdoor. Don't fall through the trapdoor. Situation like that might be that if a throw arrives really, really early, and you have an average defensive player who's going to habitually just grab the ball, put it down in front of the bag, and just wait for that uh, runner to slide into the front of the bag. If that's the situation you're in, and you've got a very savvy, advanced, skillful runner that understands that situation and makes the adjustment to go ahead and get to the backside of the bag, that's the fact that that ball is there so early has nothing to do with the fact that you've got a runner who's more skilled than the fielder. So if you are mobile and in position and you can't see the tag, and neither can your partners, then you've found the limitation of the 2 and 3 man system. It doesn't mean that you have failed at all. It just means that this particular system of 2 to 3 man has a shortcoming. And if that shortcoming is manifest on that play, then that's the explanation. Coach, I was where I needed to be to see the call, and I didn't see the tag because I was blocked, and therefore I can't make the call unless I see the tag. I appreciate that you're frustrated, but that's the rule that I have to align with, and that is the explanation. There are limitations to 2 and 3 man systems, which is why you have the advanced Major League Baseball umpires having 6 people out there. But anyway, at some level, it doesn't happen very often. But when that limitation is manifest, just own it. Just say, I was where I was supposed to be, and I did not see the tag because I could not see the tag, and we're going to have to move ahead with what we got. And that just is what it is. But understand that is an explanation, but it's not a failure of you as an umpire. It's just a shortcoming of the system. Advanced coaches and players know where blind spots are, and they know where you are. So the offense is planning on backside slide, pulling the defense over to block your point of view at 45 degrees. That is their backup plan if you make the call of out. So they get that if you are blocked and you call out, you can't see that tag. Now you're at the trap door, and they know that. These coaches are smart people. They're awesome people, but they know that if they don't get the call they want, they have a backup plan. You're out of position, and if you're blocked, and they will take advantage of that the way that they should. The defense knows a backside slide will likely pull the defense over to block your point of view at 45 degrees, and that is their backup plan. So again, I'm trying to illustrate here that no matter what call you make, you're going to end up talking to one coach, and the only way to be in a bulletproof position there is to make sure that you're at 60 degrees with a clear line of sight. So be mobile, be at 60 degrees, see the tag, pause, read, and react, and listen and calmly explain to the coach the what, I saw the tag, and the how, because I had angle and distance. Don't expect help. You are closer to that play than anyone else. There's nobody, you don't have in the system that we've got, you don't have another partner who's going to be closer to it, to you. And so be advised, it's your call, regardless of where you ultimately end up, 45 or 60. Stay simple. Quote, I clearly saw the tag, no tag from 10 feet to 60 degrees, coach. It's a judgment call. I know what I saw. I wasn't obstructed, and we need to keep playing baseball. Let's go. And then give coach an apple. Like I said earlier, so many of these coaches they're awesome teachers. They're awesome instructors. They're so constructive. They want to make sure that every scenario is an opportunity to get better and to improve, and they feed off of that. So if you're in a conversation out there with them, some of those coaches may really appreciate it. And it's not like they don't know already. But if you're managing the game and you're managing that relationship, offering up a comment like, hey, a tag on the runner instead of the bag may have some help next time, coach. But I saw what I saw, and appreciate you being here, but let's get back to playing baseball. So that's a couple of ways to look at it. Additional resources and references. These are links that you can go to on YouTube. But I found some photos here that I wanted to go ahead and share. But this up here in the right, this is my favorite one of all of them. Got the umpire here at about 10, 12 feet, maybe just a tad closer, but he's definitely at 60 degrees. He's got this pointed, you can see the back side of the bag perfectly. You can also see the front side of the bag. The body of the defender, which is in front of him, so we can't see him, is not obstructing the point of view. It's not creating a blind spot. And we've got a very, very, very savvy runner who's coming in parallel, and he's going to reach around and he's going to come into that bag, and he's going to avoid that tag. But that is absolute perfection right there. This is at third base, right? So again, if you look at where the umpire would be, which would be right over here, right around here at 60 degrees, that umpire is going to be able to see back over here, the blind spot behind the bag. You can also see the front of the bag, and you can see this particular defensive player has decided to put that tag down in front of the bag. You can see that this savvy, highly skilled runner is saying, that's just fine. I'm going to come in parallel, and I'm going to go ahead and, sorry for the interruption. I don't know what happened. And so again, stay focused on while I'm distracted here. Let me get back there. Okay, so right here, stay focused at 60 degrees on the fact that you've got a line of sight that covers both the front of the bag. Most importantly, moves that blind side to a C side or something you can see on the back side of that bag. Here we got a situation where the umpire would be right over here to be at about 10, 12 feet and be at 60 degrees. Notice that this defensive player is extending out here to get a tag in. And if this umpire were at 45 degrees, there's a really, really, really good chance that as this play develops, he may be obstructed by this defensive player who's rotating counterclockwise rather, put the tag down. Again, savvy base running out here on the parallel side, coming in around the tag. Great play. And then finally, we've got a play right here. Again, at 60 degrees, we've got an umpire standing right about here, and that umpire has got a view that's not obstructed by the turning torso of the defensive player. He can see the front of the bag, and most importantly, he can see all the way back here to the blind side or the backside slide of the play. And it's very, very clear. You've got both of these in the same line of sight. It's much easier to make that call, and it's much easier to have a conversation with one of the coaches when they come out who wants to talk about that call. So anyway, I appreciate your patience, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys a little bit about 45 versus 60 degrees and how to be mobile and make sure that we're doing our best to be in a position to see everything we need to see when we're asked by coaches how we make calls in tough situations, especially where the two blind spots are on the baseball field behind second and behind third. Hope you guys have an awesome season. Stay mobile, have a lot of fun with that strike zone, and have just a ton of fun learning more about how to do this very, very difficult thing called umpiring baseball games. Take care.